Now, how does a new company looks like in the ideal world? How does it look like for you?
Well, any company already today looks like what we call an extended enterprise. So we have the people on this slide on the left-hand side that are perm workers, and they provide you your internal mobility. Perm workers can also be students, anybody with an own contract of your company. If we go to the right-hand side, we have all different contract forms that provide you your external flexibility. And there's a certain order in this scheme because the more you go to the right, the further away the legal connection to your organization is. For instance, your temporary agency workers, what we call in Dutch an uitzendkracht, intérim in French. The legislation stipulates that the payment should be the same, and the hiring client is responsible for giving instructions, etc., etc. So it's very close to an employee, except that the contract is with a third party, the agency. And so if you look at the freelancer, it's forbidden to give instructions, and the freelancer decides himself or herself on the rate that is going to invoice. So there's absolutely total freedom regarding these issues. So the more you go to the right, the further away the legal implications are. And if you see loaned workers, these are people on the payroll of another company that you can exchange with each other. So far, this is not legally possible in Belgium.
Because of the CAO's probably?
Because of legislation, it's not allowed. But during COVID, the government allowed some companies to put this up. They skipped the law, temporary, and this project has been evaluated as being very positive.
Okay.
And the Flemish government is currently running some pilot cases to see how this works in practical reality.
So it helps to have a crisis to be more flexible?
Absolutely. I think apart from all the tragic implications of COVID, there have been some good things coming out of it as well, yes.
Okay. And when you talk about an ideal world, you have the internal people, you have the external people. What is a good balance? Is there a good balance for a company?
No, it's not about balance. You need people, point. What you should do is be aware that your company probably already is an extended enterprise and that you have challenges managing this external flexibility itself. Because for every contract form, there is different legislation and different labor markets. So it's already complex. And in most organizations, what we see, this is not well organized. It's a big mess. And they put everything on one pile and they treat everybody equal, which is, of course, raising a lot of risks. This has implications on the cost side. And the question that you should ask is, do we know everybody who's working for our organization? Do we need these people?
Do we have contracts?
Do we have contracts? Who could sue us? And for what reason? It's about, do we have contracts? That's a really starting point. It should be, but often is not the case. But it's also about GDPR, IP rights, all these matters, health and safety. So there's a lot more legislation than do we have a contract, yes or no, which implies false independency, for instance. It's about supervision. If you treat these people really equally to your employees, that's quite noble of yourself, but it's not really within the legal framework. So it has a lot of risk. So your organization is probably already an extended enterprise. You need to solve that, and then to continue, You should be aware of the trends in the labor market, and you have to know where you can find these talents. In which pools are they to be found? Who are the vendors to supply project sourcing? Who are the vendors with statement of work for specific projects? But also, in what talent pools can we find freelancers? Do we have to go through an agency, or can we have direct sourcing them ourselves? And what do we need to set up to get in touch with them?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. I can imagine when I look at traditional company, the temp labor workers are managed by HR consultants. Project sourcing is more by procurement. Statement of work can be a mixture. The business is heavily involved probably. So the roles in a traditional company are becoming more difficult to get aligned. So are companies organizing themselves differently to cope with those challenges?
Well, leading companies certainly are. And what they do is they start with their own mission, their own strategic plan. What are the services that we're going to develop and provide the next 3-4 years, or the products that we're going to produce the next 3-4 years? What kind of talent, what skills do we need, at what time, in which location? So they make their own strategic workforce planning, and then they look already at their current workforce, the perm workers and the contingent workers. Who do we already have on board? What are the skill gaps? And how do we get there? Can we get there by training of our current workforce, be it perm or external? Or do we need to go to the labor market and start sourcing ourselves? Are we going to put people on the payroll, or are we going to structurally work with external talents? These are strategic decisions they take upfront. And they have a vision, a very clear vision on this, and it's very clear for everybody in the organization. If there's a vacancy, what kind of talent and where to find this talent they have to put in this vacancy.
This is not about the extended enterprise, it's also about the upgraded enterprise, because that means that people, departments like procurement, HR should be on board level involved.
Absolutely, they have a strategic role in providing the C-level with the insights in the current workforce, entire workforce, perm and contingent, but also on trends in the labor market and knowing where to find talent, scarce talent.
Okay, it looks like a challenge, but
it's feasible.
I can confirm that a lot of companies are in the transition phase for the moment, and getting themselves organized differently to cope with these challenges.